It's another week in the For Your Reference household, and it is another film festival edition of Reference Max.
Nice.
Slide it in and snap it off. Let's get on with the show. Friends and Habibi lovers, welcome back to the For Your Reference podcast. You got your host Katie
and OT.
Welcome to Reference Max, where we review shorts and films watched throughout the SWANAFF Film Festival and the Fantastic Film Festival Australia.
All spoiler free.
And in every other language. It's going to get muy caliente, OT. Woo-hoo-hoo. Wow. In amongst all of the PR stuff, it's been nice to be able to, still do what we do, but do it in a sense that might be a bit different to other episodes. So, friends and lovers, just like the format of Reference Max, grab a beverage, grab a snack. There's definitely not going to be any spoilers, and it's going to be a very interesting episode today. So the weekend that just passed, if you are following us in a linear timeline of 2023, we kind of sandwiched, a couple of screenings as a part of the SWANA. SWANA is the decolonized term for Southwest Asian and North African Film Festival. So I went to a screening with a couple of shorts and a film on the Friday. We went to a screening as a part of the Fantastic Film Festival Australia on the Saturday. And then I went to one more session with a short as well as a film on Sunday to conclude our delightful, nasty, splooshy film festival ride. And we still have the South African Film Festival on the way.
We do.
As well as the Sydney Film Festival as well, friends and lovers. So let's get into it. On the Friday night, it was the opening night for the SWANAFF Film Festival. And it was really cool to be able to, hear speeches from the director of SWANAFF Film Festival, as well as just being able to see, different sort of storytelling and filmmaking, especially from my point of view. It is a new sort of experience for me. In the lineup today, we have Syrian films, Egyptian films, Iraqi films, as well as Lebanese films. So we're definitely covering all parts of the geographics, and I'm sure OT can give us his Morocco football takes.
Oh, I love the geographics.
So the SWANAFF Film Festival opening night, the 3 sets of shorts before the feature film. The first short film that was presented was called Rest in Peace, coming out of France, director Antoine Antabi. And OT, it was actually a claymation stop motion film.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really... So this was a Syrian film, and I would say, I'm still deciding, but I would say it's in my top, if not my first favorite short of all of the shorts that I watched out of the film festival.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to spoil a lot. Friends and lovers, as much as I can get details and research or when it will be available to watch, whether it's streaming or at other film festivals, I'll definitely share it. But I guess to contextualize this short, it focuses on a protagonist, and essentially the soundbite that I would give for this short is sacrifice through survival.
All right.
It is the best example of what a short film should be. In the world of podcasting, sometimes people think a video with voice is a podcast, and I definitely am the gatekeeper of what a podcast is.
Wanker.
A podcast wanker, absolutely. But the reason why I say that is there are absolutely different mediums, even if you're talking about television or or even short limited series as opposed to like a feature-length film, there's a different sort of storytelling, there's a different sort of format, and may I even say there's a different sort of urgency and even the ability to be able to hit particular topics and hit it to the depth that will be able to have a lasting sort of memory. And Rest in Peace was absolutely that, you know. It was able to encapture the devastation of war, the necessity to continue to survive through war, and the need to not necessarily relinquish, but the need to, I guess, like leave a part of your identity in order to survive and perhaps seek refuge in other lands.
Okay. So it hit very real.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm saying it's the best, like it was the best use of a short film format is because it was claymation, because it was stop motion. There was a lot that was conveyed in this short film without having to have pages and pages of dialogue. You know, there was a lot of visual sort of cues that happened in this. That was also the sound design was also really great as well. Like literally no notes. Like I really got into it. And I also don't want to spoil anything either, but I guess the takeaway of Rest in Peace, PIECE, is sacrifice through survival.
That's pretty neat because I think for me, when I go into a film, like I remember my first experience of watching a stop motion sort of film.
Yeah.
And it always stuck with me. And I think I had such a visceral reaction to it back then.
Yeah.
That now every time I watch anything that is claymation, I have a sort of flashback when the story isn't gripping. I sort of just zone out.
Uh-huh.
So did it play, like you said, the visuals were good for you and it played a big part in you enjoying the story more?
Yeah.
If this was just short live action, would it have detracted from you sort of getting something from it?
Well, I think even if we don't consider live action, because obviously there are a lot of mediums, you know, there's a beauty to animation as well, right? And there are ways to convey a story, a plot, or, you know, a character sort of arc in animation that you can't necessarily achieve in live action, right? I'm not even talking about Bulma's little blue strip in Dragon Ball Evolution. So there was definitely, and you're right, there's a certain level of respect for the innovation and the ability, like even the way that they had like a plastic bag rustling down the road, like you just know that a lot of work went into it, and there's a lot of respect that I have for that.
Nice. Kudos, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it that much. It's one of those that I've definitely put in my watch list, and I'm looking forward to it.
Also, shout outs to Phoebe, my fellow film digester. It was really nice to go to the film festival with her and also be able to digest the experiences as well.
Nice.
Also, I must admit the reason why I'm plugging Phoebe right now is because we bought Maltesers and I didn't know when to pass them to her because it already started off very heavy and the next shot was also very heavy as well.
So you ended up eating it all.
I don't need to give away my trickery claymation secrets. The next short film that we have is called The Fall, coming out of Australia. This is a Syrian film from director Mert Beldelek. In regards to cast, we have Majid Shakor as well as Taj Al-Deeb. This short, I read the synopsis and it didn't hint to the heavy subject matter. So in that regard, I won't explicitly say what the heavy subject matter is. However, what I will say is that, you know, a lot of the time, OT, I talk about how it's important to have a talanoa for the fale, you know? We exist in a world where we are potentially regarded as the minorities, right? Mm-hmm. Where we definitely want to challenge and make sure that our community is doing right by everyone, but we're also very conscious of the outside lens.
Righto.
Right? And The Fall absolutely addresses that.
Okay.
We have a grieving wife, a widower in this short, and she's appealing to the imam, and the imam is immovable, perhaps stubborn, definitely resistant to her requests. So at the core of the fall, without spoiling it in any way, is the intersection of religion, the convenience of abiding by particular scripture, and even be challenged by other scripture that opposes particular scripture, and being, so essentially it's talking about, like, as an imam, the people that you're supposed to look out for, but also trying to uphold your status and therefore not helping them to the extent that you could be helping them.
Oh, so it's not more, when I had the fall, I thought it would be something like a fall from grace when you started describing it.
Perhaps, yes.
Okay. There's nothing better when you're faced with religion or something you're brought up in and having to deal with the ramifications or trying to navigate within the boundaries of what's allowed.
Yeah.
You know, so it sounds interesting. I'm definitely eager. I just know that, you know what I say a lot, I've got my bias.
Yeah.
And anytime that I see anything religious that it doesn't, that sort of shifts to pull people down rather than try and help them regardless of the situation.
Yep.
I just don't vibe for it. And I think that's one of the visual reactions I had when I watched The Two Popes, and you loved it so much.
Pops.
And I just couldn't get outside of myself to enjoy the movie for what it was.
But you're a residential Catholic boy, that's why.
I know.
Put a Mormon film on and then we'll start talking.
Well, I just want to cover under the banner of heaven so we get to those panties.
Oh my. That's the wrong Captain America, OT.
Oh, wow.
But you're absolutely right. Summarizing the fall, it's like if religion and faith exists to help the people, but it's not helping the people because there is a status to the faith, then what good does it serve?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I'd hope the shot covers is a resolution, and I hope it does have that. Because a lot of the times when we get this sort of stuff, it's always just left up in the air. And I remember us covering a lot of the movies, especially when it covers anything religious or anything has to do with a cultural background, where we can air out all the issues that we see within our community or within our culture or religion and just leave it there. So my hope is that we get some semblance of, hey, we can do ABC. So in regards to this short, it's a very heavy subject matter. It's a grappling with, an ancient faith. And I just don't feel like it was the best vessel in a short film. It felt like it was a couple of scenes of a feature film. You see what I'm saying? Religion is such a mammoth thing to cover in a short.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of nuance there. So I'd be very interested to see how this is laid out. And
you know what I think it is? Rest in Peace was very serious, but it was focusing on the experience of the protagonist. The Fall kind of becomes a vessel, an open dialogue of challenging, personal growth versus faith. So because it's more of a commentary, to achieve that in a short, I don't necessarily think it can be done in that sort of format. But that might just be my personal preference.
All right, fair points. But
there were some great points that were raised, absolutely.
How was the cinematography?
It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
The directing was earnest. There was a lot of great points that were brought up, but it was kind of the first session of many, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
But again, I'm all for talanos in the fale. Just make sure you take your shoes off before you come inside.
Mm-hmm.
The last short before the feature film on the Friday was called Yeah Baba.
Yeah, Baba.
This is coming out of the US. It's an Egyptian film from Palestinian director Musa Hussein Kriash, who also is an actor who also was the jinn on American Gods.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, the one that Salim was chasing after.
Yeah. I also want to lay some love and splooshes to the director, the team, and the curators at SWANAFF Film Festival, because it is absolutely a skill to distill the talent and what's available and present it in a film festival sort of format. And out of the 3 shorts, this was the light one. It was the funny one. It got it got everyone, laughing and smiling. And, I don't want to spoil it because I want you, friends and lovers, as well as OT, to experience this short if we can ever, if it's available in some sort of format. But it's really funny because it plays on, I guess, the not necessarily expectation, but you would assume that someone of an older generation, perhaps our parents' age, for example, would be very conservative, perhaps even homophobic or any other sort of phobic. And it kind of turns it on its head, where it's like so embracing of the queer community. It's just like, and I know this makes no sense at all without even explaining anything, but it really, for a lot of us, we do have older sort of relatives, whether it's parents or otherwise, where we do have these moments of levity, whether it's about the queer community or whether it's about anything that you wouldn't necessarily expect to have that layer of progression. It was really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. When I heard "Yeah, Baba," I just loosely translated it to "Yes, Father."
Yeah.
Right?
You are a man of the world, OT.
Uh-huh.
I literally can't say anything else without getting you friends and lovers to watch it. But it was definitely a nice sort of palate cleanser for the feature film of Friday for the SWANAFF Film Festival.
So just to be clear, the order in which you've covered these, are these the exact same order you watched them in?
Correct.
Oh, okay. So you went from heavy to something a bit more like a palate cleanser, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then for the opening night of the SWANAFF Film Festival, we had Baghdad in My Shadow. This is from an Iraqi-Swiss director named Samir, who also wrote the film. It's an Iraqi film. Also in regards to writers, we have Farhat Al-Jamil. In way of cast, we have Haythan Abdel Razak, Zara Gandor, as well as Wazim Abbas, who was also at the opening night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at you rubbing shoulders, eh?
Oh, as far as I could, many rows back, but absolutely. So this feature film also, friends and lovers, as learned as we are, I definitely do have my blind spots. And this was my first Iraqi film that I've ever watched.
All right.
And I'm so glad that that in this film festival, I was able to experience, so many different forms of filmmaking and storytelling to, I don't know, wash out the bad taste of Western sort of portrayals or perceptions, So this film focuses on actually a couple of characters, and it speaks to many different themes. OT, just like I said with the Pacifica Film Festival with Waikiki, I want you to watch this film and I want to do a full review on this.
Whoa.
Yes. There's lots of moments of levity. There's themes of the progression and the exploration of radicalization of a faith.
Mm-hmm.
There's also safety of women, independence of women in this film, as well as what it means to carry on culture, carry on religion in, Britain, for example.
All right. So this was a short as well.
This was a feature film.
Oh, all right. Makes sense. I was like, oh, they covered a lot.
Baghdad in My Shadow is a multifaceted offering of straightforward Iraqi storytelling, brilliant use of archival footage, and universal themes of faith, women, and community.
Nice.
Something that I really appreciated, and I guess as time will go on, I don't know if this is Iraqi storytelling or if this is specific to the film, but it was very straightforward. Like the dialogue was very straightforward, and I really appreciated it.
Straightforward as in how? When I hear straightforward, I'm just picturing Jason Statham. Maybe that's not doing it justice.
It could be, you never know. So I guess from this point of view, there was an element of like, I guess you could say law enforcement, of authorities, of like a interrogation room type thing. So that was part of the storytelling of the film. And, obviously we're uncovering mysteries, not necessarily who done it, but we're trying to recount the events of what led up to a potential murder, right? And you just know, and I don't even know if it's a Western thing, but you just know things that would take like, I don't know, 4 back and forth scenes. They literally just said that shit. And then we can move on. Like, let's just say it for what it is and let's move on.
There was something we were watching recently and we were getting very frustrated at how it tried not to say exactly what the scene wanted or what the scene required. And they kept on meandering around that felt quite blatantly as if they want to stretch it out for time.
Yeah.
I'm glad and I'll be here to start anything that gets to the point.
Yeah.
And doesn't beat around the bush.
Yeah. I really appreciate it.
We're all here for, I came to do a job. I did the job.
Yeah. I feel like I'm moving in different places from teenage Katie watching Bollywood films with dramatic reveals to Iraqi films in my 30s where it's just like, yeah, they fucking did it.
Nice.
I'm just like, this is refreshing. This is great. Also, the reason why I say there's a brilliant use of archival footage as well as ancillary like sort of context is because, and it might have been a conscious decision. It might have just been, because you're about it. That's how you write the story. But it really helped me to fill in the gaps and understand, at least in a minute way, to carry through the vessel of the film of Iraqi culture.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, there was a singer that they would have throughout the film, like footage of her singing, and you can tell even without knowing that she was like a household name. Even the way that they would convey sort of news reports or particular events at the time, they would use archival footage for that as well. So, I'm not a fan of the word authenticity, but you could tell that they were layering it in a way that, it just felt right.
Sounds like they took great care and attention to detail to lay this out.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I would also say that the filmmaking, like I said in She Said, the filmmaking was handled with care. I'm not going to go into detail, but I will say just the reference of, I would give a trigger warning. There are graphic scenes of violence towards gay and female characters in this film. This Baghdad in My Shadow, the title of it is exactly reflective of the beauty, the poetry, but also the devastation of the characters, of the arc, of the community in this film. It also offered multiple avenues. Like, it was absolutely a tasting platter for Iraqi cinema for me.
Nice. A great gateway then.
Yeah, because I guess in the description I was like, okay, this is a queer story, but it was so much more than that.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess what I want to finish off with, obviously there's a lot to talk about, and friends and lovers, when we can get OT and I will watch it again, when we can get a full review, we will go into more detail. But I did make notes, by the way, but we'll keep that for when we do the full review. But one of my themes is problematic white people be problematic.
I think the mere fact the movie is just called Baghdad in My Shadow, I expected as much, man.
It could have been called anything and you'd still say you expected as much.
True.
Literally get your bingo card out. There's a white character that says you don't look Iraqi.
Oh, one of those gems, eh?
Maybe the same character explains things in an exhibition to the Iraqi character.
Wow. All right. It sounds like we're in for a treat when you do get to see this.
I have one more. There's another white character that says, marry me and all your problems go away.
Oof.
Oh, man. Hugh Grant's aplenty, OT.
Wow.
But just summarizing Baghdad in My Shadow, it's absolutely what a film should be to those that where it will hit differently, to those that are new to Iraqi cinema, and just be able to give you enough context. But I need to go away and do some research, because there were some comments or commentary that was made and I was like, I don't understand it, but this film has given me enough to understand it for this film.
All right. A bit of extra reading then.
A bit of extra reading. Hold on to your hats, friends and lovers, because we are diving into the Fantastic Film Festival, Australia. We went to go and watch Quantum Cowboys.
We sure did.
I'm tagging you in, brother.
Oh, don't do this, brother.
So again, this was part of the Fantastic Film Festival Australia. We watched Quantum Cowboys. Infinity Pool was also a part of the screenings for this festival. We will have our full review episode coming out soon, friends and lovers, for Infinity Pool. Just quickly, we have director Jeff Marslet, who was also a writer with Hal Gelb. I came into consciousness of Quantum Cowboys because of Kyra Gordon, who is also an executive producer. Also in Wave Cast, Lily Gladstone, John Way, David Arquette, as well as Uncle Brownie. In Res Dogs, we have Gary Farmer.
Ooh.
All right, OT, kick us off, cowboy.
I did not know anything about this movie going in. I know you sent me some descriptions, which I didn't read.
Wow. This is my favorite timeline, by the way.
I'm just being honest. So when the movie started, I won't lie, I found it initially disorienting with its eclectic visuals, but it grew on me, which led to a captivating experience, a multiverse Western that offers a thought-provoking cosmic adventure through time and space. I loved it at the end of it. I think it was such a unique way of storytelling that I have not seen before. When you get out of the cinema, and I think I had this experience when I left watching Nope, where you feel like, what the hell did I just watch? It was something completely outside of my imagination of what this movie would be.
Yeah.
That it reset everything, any expectation I had of the movie.
Yeah.
And from a storytelling perspective, I think it was just the brilliantness of it all. I was taken aback, and it's definitely a recommend for me. It's one of the best things that I've seen this year.
Yeah, fucking hard.
It will change your perception of what a movie is and then how mixed media can be used to elevate cinematography. It shouldn't be contained in a box, because you can express yourself in different ways, and you can show stories and timelines in different ways in different media, that it just works.
Do they speak cinematic range and what?
They fucking do! Sorry, I just tapped my inner Yellowstone in there.
Oh, see, and you ruined it. You ruined it, OT. They call that self-colonization.
We are all too well acquainted with that shit.
Unfucking fortunately. Let's go to another timeline, I say.
Well, are you going to be in Woman King now?
Could you be any more of an ass? You know what's so much fun about these two film festivals is, as much as we love and we've been given opportunities from a PR perspective to go to screenings, to watch screeners, or even just our sort of casual viewing, exactly what you're saying. There's a sort of a realm that we exist in where, as much as creative as a storytelling can be, as visceral as the visuals can be, it's all kind of in the same sort of part and parcel, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, this weekend presented to us the possibility and I guess the unending breadth of what is possible in these multimedia formats.
It truly is, man. Like I cannot, there's an expectation of every movie that you go in that's gonna be shot in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's gonna apply certain aspects that you're used to when watching a movie, or even just basic storytelling at its core.
Yeah.
And when it's flipped on its head and you end up with Quantum Cowboys, it's true to its name, because at first I thought we were in the wrong cinema.
Like, what does it mean?
I really did. I was like, are you sure we're in the right cinema? What is this? But I quickly came to love the acting and how things are shot. You'd think, at first you'd think it's quirky just because
it's like nefarious for the sake of being nefarious. Yeah.
But as the story goes on, you're completely drawn into this.
Oh, absolutely.
And each different type of cinematography or shooting, you get to understand how everything overlays.
Yeah.
And it sets up this tapestry of interconnectedness that I thought was brilliantly done. You know, I've lauded about Loki and how it tackled time and space.
Yeah.
What can I say about Quantum Cowboys, man? Like it took it to a level I didn't even think there was.
Oh, absolutely. I now understand what Nicole Kidman was saying about the cinema.
The theater.
No, but it's like if we were to just randomly, casually put this on at home, I don't think we would have given it the same sort of breadth that we gave in putting our pants on, going to the cinema, making an actual event of it.
Yeah, Pants Off OT does not watch this, you know?
The Pants Off OT is most welcome in KT's eyes.
It's
whether your pants are on at the start, they won't be at the end.
But it is true. If I stumbled across this on streaming, I probably don't even give it a second look.
Yeah.
But as things aligned, I'm so glad that I happened to watch this movie and really just be in a space where I can appreciate it for what it is and try and understand.
Yeah, the Nicole Kidman cinema.
You said it.
The textured layers in the visuals match the complex and straight-through narrative that grounded the experience of creating and consolidating memories.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Charlie Brooker, at the time of Death to 2020 onwards, he talked about not being sure of, you know, what a new season of Black Mirror would look like because the world is so fucked up right now, you know? And then they, I guess, also ushered in the format of Death to 2020 and so on. However, if the next season, which is very soon, of Black Mirror isn't to the caliber of Quantum Cowboys, I don't want it.
I don't want it. I don't need it.
It was like a mix of like Black Mirror and also Cloud Atlas, this film. But like in a way, like, so essentially, friends and lovers, without spoiling this film, Quantum Cowboys talks about the creation and consolidation of memories and how they are all pieced together and made sense of through multiple timelines.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly what OT is saying, there was so much mixed multimedia in this film. It wasn't just one type of animation. There was so many there was so much texture to this film. And, you know, it's so interesting in, you know, personally for me, I am, like I've said, I'm a very literal person. So usually things that are sort of experimental are a bit harder for me to latch onto. But it was like there was an establishing point of the reason why it was all, you know, a happy clusterfuck of sunshine.
True. I wouldn't put it better myself.
I would just say, friends and lovers, you know, it's been doing the circuits for film festivals. But if you do happen to have the opportunity to watch Quantum Cowboys, please do. Whether you're wearing pants is none of my business, but would strongly recommend in every timeline that you get a snack and a beverage and you watch this film.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, we have the not closing night, but the last day of the SWANAFF Film Festival. This is let me attempt OT. Trambressa sur le miel.
Oh, I think you nailed it.
Thank you. In French, otherwise Kissing You on the Honey. This is a Syrian film by director Khalil Cherti. This is my second favorite short of the film festival.
All right, tell me more.
So this was live action as opposed to the claymation Rest in Peace that I really, really loved. This talks about, again, the visual in real time destruction of war, the consequences as well. And what it does, and this is the best way, I think, especially in a short film sort of format, it explores the after effects. It explores the impacts through the lens of two characters.
Oh.
So one character, he's alone, and the other character, she's also alone, and they find companionship through sending tapes. They tape each other and they send it to each other.
Okay.
There are some very, what I love so much about this short was the tonality of the short film. It was able to hit the highest and I guess sort of suspended despair to be able to enjoy the moment to the lows of unflinching vulnerability. And it does it more than once in being able to explore it. There's also a very funny, I guess you could call it like a sexting sort of situation.
Sexting or sexting?
You can be both of mine. You can be my sex thing, putty tang. But it's kind of like, they kind of play it like a sports commentary. So essentially, OT, is what I'm saying is stretch and bend over because we're going to get creative.
Because I'm kissing you on the honey. Is that what it is? All right.
Absolutely.
Nice.
But there's all of the best parts and the worst parts of the human experience are tempered by the tonality in this short film. Like it really rides a high and then it goes to the most devastating part of the short. And personally, for me, I want to be able to see real guttural sort of storytelling, but also knowing that it's done in a way of care and it's done to a way of purpose. It's not just making us sad to be sad.
And this met that criteria.
Absolutely.
Fair enough, man. Sounds like it was interesting. Sounds good. We love a good guttural story that doesn't shy away from knocking us out with the truth bombs where it's so needed.
I feel like true joy doesn't exist without hardship.
Because that's just life, isn't it?
Damn, dog. How did you become the saddest part of this? All right, well, let's finish off, friends and lovers. This is the last, and it is a feature film of the SWANAFF Film Festival. It's called Miguel's War. It's set in Lebanon as well as Spain, and it is the director Elian Rahib in regards to, not necessarily cast, but it does focus on Miguel Gelati. This is a 2-for-1 documentary where we actively are digging into the center of Miguel and the life he has crafted for himself.
Okay, a 2-for-1 documentary in what way?
In the fact that it's not just a package tied into a bow documentary, we are actively making the documentary while the documentary is happening.
All right.
Yeah. So Miguel, there's so much, and even the title of this documentary, Miguel's War, a lot of it talks about his upbringing, and we always love talking about upbringings in the For Your Reference podcast, and a lot of it has to do with his sexuality. A lot of it has to do with shame around his sexuality. Okay. Whether it's self-imposed, whether it's forced from his parents because it's not acceptable, and not necessarily pray the gay away, but, there's a lot that he's battling, right? And it was very interesting. It was very interesting to watch this documentary because right from the start, the footage of Miguel is not, it's not positive. Ooh. Like he's being a snarky fucking bitch. Like he's being, but even while we were watching this, I was saying to myself, we're going to end up loving this guy, aren't we? Right? So I think it's that sort of porcupine effect of like, let me show you the ugliest, most repulsive side of me. And if you stick around, I guess maybe we can get to know each other, Mm-hmm. It was interesting in the sense that, again, friends and lovers, I definitely need to do a bit more research. However, the documentary did very well in the start where it had like a classroom scene and it talked about, the prejudices and the the sort of racism and the culture sort of wars that were going on, whether it was the attitudes towards, Lebanese people might have towards Syrians or Palestinians, for example. And it was interesting to explore from that point of view.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's interesting, and there's definitely parts of the documentary that are worth to watch without it being discussed in a sort of non-spoiler review sort of format. But definitely anyone watching this would be frustrated with Miguel, because it gets to a point where you don't even know if what he's saying is the truth.
Oh, so he's really at war.
He's really at war. It feels like he's at war with you, but really he's at war with himself. And there are certain things very hard to talk about, even for me, very hard to watch sort of moments in the documentary where you even question, wait, he lied about this. Is this even true? Sort of thing. But what I would also say, if I could extend some grace, the best sort of documentaries, especially about, someone's life, is allowing full access to yourself, right? And I think in this sort of readily online accessible sort of age, we kind of take for granted how vulnerable it is to allow yourself to be documented in a documentary sort of format.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I get it. Like, friends and lovers, unless I'm projecting, unless it's for your projection, there are many things on this podcast that I'm very open to talk about, but there are some things that it might be okay for me to talk about, but it's just not something that I am willing to share unless it's relevant, So in that point of view, I might start making up shit. I might just be like making up stories because it's none of your business. So when I say it's a 2-for-1 documentary, in those moments where I guess Miguel is playing games or he's choosing not to be honest, Eliane, the director, she's fucking great. Like, the skill of being a documentarian filmmaker is something that I couldn't do, because she was nudging him. She was like, no, you told me you did this. You sent me a text and you told me you did this. Now you're saying you did it. Like, I couldn't do that, but I also wanted to know the truth as well.
Nice. Seems like we definitely go through a journey in Miguel, coming to either love him or understanding him. Because at the end of the day, it's his journey. He's allowed to be however. And it takes courage to open yourself up like that.
Oh, absolutely.
And, lies and all.
Yeah.
Lies and all. We're all imperfect, and we're all on a journey and on a path. And we have our little battles, and hopefully he ends up winning the war.
Well, I hope I have your loving grace in every timeline, OT. Ooh. Thank you, friends and lovers, for joining us another week in the For Your Reference household. It's been nice. How's your experience been?
Good. Going to the festival and watching Cowboys was just really fun for me. We watched some really ridiculous trailers that I want to just delve head in. I'll be looking for those movies. But wow, I had fun. I
enjoyed it. I feel like if there is ever a time to open yourself up to whether it's a new sort of cinema or whether it's, different types of storytelling, film festivals are absolutely the place to do it. If you've seen any of these films, or if you would like to further discuss, on Twitter and Instagram, we're @ForYourFPod.
Write us an email at hello@podcast.com.
We're also on Kissing You on the OT Honey podcast if you'd like to leave a rating and review. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.